Rev up your engines!
Well, if you're thinking about buying a hybrid car, you might think twice if you're going to keep it for a long period of time. Mr. Singh bought a Mercedes-Benz hybrid used. The battery went out, and this is at 47,000 miles, too. We're not talking about it hit 1,000,000 miles, right? And he was told that it was going to cost him over $20,000 to have the battery replaced, but that the book value of his car was about $16,000. So would you put $20,000 in a car that's only worth $16,000? I don't think so. That's the thing if you're dealing with these expensive batteries. Now, of course, he made the mistake of buying a Mercedes-Benz hybrid. Are amongst the highest to maintain cars and to repair, and they do break down a lot. They're not like they used to be in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. They're not as well made as they used to be. Put that aside. Hybrid cars cost more money to fix, no matter who makes them. The worst, absolute worst hybrid car to buy is a Mercedes, because the part's going to cost the absolute most, and it's going to cost a ton to fix them when they break down. What amazes me is this Mercedes only had 47,000 miles on the clock, and the battery was gone already. I've seen hybrid batteries go out on Toyota Priuses and things like that, right? One, they cost a lot less than $20,000 for the batteries. They went out when they had 200, 290, 350,000 miles, not when they had 47,000 miles on them. So, you're thinking about getting a hybrid car, especially a used one, you might think twice before you end up in the big money pit hole as things start to break, and then you got to replace them. I know a lot of people say, well, Scotty, you can put a rebuilt battery in them. Yeah, well, the rebuilt batteries come with really weak guarantees, too. Maybe a year or two. Then you got to buy another one. And they're still not cheap. They're still thousands of dollars. They're usually maybe 1/3 to 1/2 of what a new one costs, but still, they don't last that long. So it's not like you're getting a new one. If your first one lasted 10 years, you get a rebuilt one, you're lucky if you get 2-3 years out of the stupid thing. Now, here's an email from one of your viewers showing that the stuff that I'm telling you about Chevy is not a lie. And I quote, my father-in-law is a 2020 Chevy 2500 HD diesel, 70,000 miles now. He bought it brand new. Last year, there was a severe wiring harness problem, so he took it in. The TSB was to reduce voltage to prevent it from melting. They didn't fix anything. They just reduced the voltage so it wouldn't melt the cheap part. This is why I laugh in disgust. This truck says something like 55 miles until reduced engine speed. Every 10 miles, it would reduce the speed. So I bought it into the dealer. They can't fix it because they don't have any parts. And they also have no loaners, so they won't allow an outside rental unless it was a GM. In our area, rentals don't have GM vehicles yet. So my father-in-law has spent over $80,000 for a shiny truck that he can't even drive now. I laugh because he's borrowing my Toyota truck, the one that he dissed because he thinks Toyotas are unreliable foreign junk. Well, Scotty, you're right. I hate to hear these stories because these people are stuck with this crap, right? 80 grand for a pickup, they might melt the wiring as well. We'll just put a software thing to reduce the power, not put in better wires. No, that would require too much work, right? And now, well, they don't have the part. They can't fix it. They'll only pay to rent a GM, but nobody in their area rents a GM. Here's how you solve that problem. Don't buy one in the first place. Vote with your dollars. That's the only way you can get away with this. I feel sorry for the father-in-law because he's got that mentality, oh, unreliable foreign junk. Maybe that was true in the 1960s, but it isn't anymore. If somebody makes a better vehicle and I see it, I'll tell people about it. I see crap, I'll tell people about it. I have no vested interest. I don't own stock in any of these companies. Makes no difference to me. I'm just a guy who fixes them. I don't build them, I don't buy them, and I don't break them. But in this case, you can see the GMs, they kind of break themselves. And now they can't even fix them because they don't even have the parts. And the guy couldn't even get a rental because there wasn't anybody who rented them. All that money for a pickup truck. Over $80,000. What a waste of money. Well, the times they are changing. It used to be that BMW was known for making great engines. I gotta say, their electronics, a bunch of crap, but they always made pretty good engines. Well, I guess it's not as good as it used to be. Because in England, the police are now being ordered not to drive faster than 90 miles an hour because the engines might explode on their BMWs that have special police souped up engines. And here's what BMW says about it. The issue was only with specialist police vehicles due to the way they are being driven. Well, isn't that kind of the point? You're making them these fast vehicles so they can chase after people, and if they blow up, I guess you didn't do a very good job building them. The reason the police are saying, well, you can't drive them too fast is because in 2020, a police constable died when his burst into flames when he was chasing after somebody, and the engine blew up. And of course, BMW does more doublespeak. Here's what they responded to the police and to the public in England about these BMW special police cars. The safety of our customers and their vehicles is of utmost importance to BMW. These companies and their doublespeak that they give to people. Hey, they're supposed to be great machines that go fast, right? The ultimate driving machine. I guess these are the ultimate exploding driving machines. They make them for the police, and then they whine that, well, you're driving them too hard. That's the problem. So even though BMW aren't making them like they used to. Ken Coop says, do I need to change my engine oil after using a spray valve cleaner like CRC? You're talking about spraying the intake. The air goes through, gets on the intake valves, and cleans them. You're spraying it on the air induction system where the air and the fuel mix, right? You're not putting it in the engine oil. If you put it in the oil, yeah, that's a completely different thing. So let's say you want to clean your engine oil, maybe you think your piston rings are carboned up and they're stuck because they're low tension ones that can get stuck inside, and you use that cleaner that I talk about, the automotive test solutions that Bernie and those guys make in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Then, yeah, you put it in the engine, you run it for 15, 20 minutes at like 2,000 RPM. That's cleaning all the crap out of your oil. Then you change your oil and filter and put in new oil and a new filter. But you're spraying it on the inside. You don't need to do anything then on the induction side and the fuel side and the exhaust side, not in the actual oil system itself. So you won't have to change the oil and filter. That's only if you're cleaning the engine oil system, not the air fuel induction system. Takeout 1228 says, I got no reverse in my '08 Explorer. V6, two-wheel drive, 140,000 miles. All the other gears work fine. Your reverse gear is breaking down. Now on those things, that's usually the first thing that breaks down. In the past, when I used to rebuild them, you take them apart. Reverse gear, since it's reverse, it's going in opposite directions of the other gears. And it's often the one that breaks down. The way automatic transmissions and that old thing work, a sun gear in the middle, just like the sun, the planetary gears whirl around it. Reverse is one of the planetary gears, and it's usually the first one to go out. Now, in order to fix it, you're going to have the whole tranny pulled off, stripped down, and rebuilt. Awful lot of money. And unfortunately, over 33% of the transmissions rebuilt at one of these transmission shops, when you bring it in, they rebuild it, don't work right after they put it in. They got to do it over and over again. My advice, if you want to fix it, get a factory remanufactured transmission with a real guarantee, and it probably will be done good, and then you got a really solid guarantee. I would not have any local guys try to rebuild it, because from my experience, they screw up at least 1/3 of the time. And they'll give you some funky guarantee. You get a factory rebuilt one, you're better off on that. But it is. The reverse is out. It's going to have to be completely taken apart and rebuilt. It's got 140,000 miles. You got to rebuild the whole thing. You fix reverse, then something else will break. You got to take it all apart anyway. So my advice is get a factory reman for that thing. Mechanic says, what should the oxygen sensor read? I got a 2008 Nissan Sentra. I was looking at scan tool data, and I need to know if it's good or bad. It's not just what it reads. Data that comes out of it. It goes up and down. And looking at the actual numbers, it's kind of meaningless crap. You got to hook up a digital storage oscilloscope. That's what DSO stands for. If you just plug something into your OBD port and look at it, that has time lag, and the data, by the time you get it to a machine, it's not direct. It isn't that great to analyze. You got to get a digital storage oscilloscope, hook it up to the oxygen sensors. Then you can watch the wavelengths, and they're supposed to go up and down crispy like mountains and valleys. That's how they're made to work. If you see they're stuck down or stuck up or just a straight line, you either got a problem with a sensor, you got a problem with the wiring going to it, or you got a serious problem like an engine that's running so lean that's always going to be at the hill or the valley, and it isn't going to be going up and down and up and down. Normally when you're driving, they go up and down, up and down. You really got to look at it with a digital storage oscilloscope. Analyzing those things is relatively complex. It's not a simple thing that you can do. You got to understand what system you have, because there's various systems and oxygen sensors, and you'd have to understand it all, how to analyze. That's why mechanics get paid. They got to learn all this crap, and then they have data systems like I have that they can look up, okay, here's a good one for this Nissan, and then I'll compare mine to that after I look at it with the digital storage oscilloscope. It's complicated stuff. It's just a straight voltage. You can't analyze much that way. Pete says, I got a clanky noise in my '06 Tundra with a new drive shaft. I had my drive shaft replaced on my '06 Tundra. It needed a universal joint, but they talked me into putting in a new drive shaft. When I shifted into park, there's a clanky noise. It wasn't there before. Toyota did the work. Well, I'd take it back to them. Obviously, they did something wrong. Did it even tell you what kind of drive shaft you got? Did you get a brand new one? Did you get a remanufactured? remanufactured ones. Remanufactured ones, they often don't remanufacture them right. It should not be clunking. It didn't clunk before and it clunks now. When you put your car in gear, that loads the drive shaft. They didn't do it right, clunk, clunk. They could have put it on wrong. It could have been rebuilt wrong, but take it back to them. Should never have a noise when you pick it up, and it didn't make the noise before you took it in. You know, they'll always say, oh, it has nothing to do with what we did. Baloney. Or take it to a guy like me to analyze. If you're near Clarksville, bring it here. I'd love to check it out. I put my little sound machines on it, listen to it, and then jack it up. And if it was one of the joints, I'd say, look, they sold you a bad drive shaft. But give them a chance. Take it back. Everybody deserves one chance. But if they say, oh, it's nothing we did, which they normally say, bring it to a guy like me. And if you're near Clarksville, bring it here. I'd love to make a video on it. If you take it back and they say, oh, it's nothing we did, because I see that all the time, and I'd prove that it was. But any mechanic can figure that out too. And they can show you and film it. The guy grabbing it and clunk, clunk. It's here. It's in the drive shaft. Keep me up with what happens to it. I'd love to see what happens with it. Then, like I say, if you're near Clarksville and you take it into a Toyota dealer and they say, hey, there's nothing we did, bring it here. And I'll find out what's wrong. And if it is the work they did, it'll make a good video. Warn other people. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.